Start streaming. Good evening and welcome to another Fortean Words. Before I start, I do have a disclaimer. Hold on one second. I do have a disclaimer. It is...
Yep.
This is not to be confused with Israelis in the United Kingdom, British Jews, or Christian Zionism in the United Kingdom. So I happened upon the British Israelites. I've been watching a lot of Ark stuff, so I will do an episode about the Ark eventually. But anyway, the British Israelites were digging in Ireland looking for the Ark. So I came across this. I thought it might be quite funny because no, we was Israeli kangs.
Yes.
We can't, everyone else has got in on the we was Israelis shit. So
yeah, we might as well, right? Let's take our claim.
Why shouldn't we?
Exactly. Everyone was Israel.
So British Israelism, also known as Anglo-Israelism. Israelism, I don't know. Israelism.
I think, yeah.
Is the British nationalist, pseudo-archaeological, pseudo-historical, and pseudo-religious belief. All pseudos there. The people of Great Britain are genetically, racially, and linguistically the direct descendants of the 10 lost tribes of ancient Israel. All 10. We're not going for one. We're all 10.
All 10, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. With roots in the 16th century, British Israelism was inspired by several 19th century English writings, such as John Wilson's 1840 these fucking names. Our Israelitish origin from the 1870s onward, numerous independent British Israelite organisations were set up throughout the British Empire, as well as in the United States. As of the early 21st century, a number of these organisations are still active. In the United States, the idea gave rise to the Christian identity movement. I don't really... Do you know what Christian identity is?
Yes, I do actually know what that is. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is it?
It's kind of based upon basically founding that white people are the real Jews, and that.
So it's directly.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like British Israelitism.
They are from. Yeah, they're from. Esau and Edom were the Edomites, who are supposedly the as they claim. Let me just stress this, YouTube. As they claim, they are the people of modern day Israel, and the Jewish people are from Edom, and they claim that they're from
so Aryan, which is
Jacob.
something.
Yeah.
Which is something you were looking into. You were looking into Aryanism, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I was, but that was completely different tangent. I haven't got my head around it just yet. We'll do something on that soon because it'll make Hobbit fucking I don't know rage. But yeah, yeah. So it's basically just that the European race are the real Jews, and the beasts of the field were other races, blah blah blah. It's based in like supremacism as well,
So it's British supremacy then,
Old
basically.
Testament. No, it's not really. It's not really Anglican or Germanic. It's kind of all kind of thing. It's we are God's creation. Everyone else is created by some other god kind of thing. Yeah, it's Yeah.
So the central tenets of British Israelism have been refuted by archaeological, ethnological, genetic, and linguistic research. So they just need to tell you that twice. It's so important that this is bullshit that they have to tell you twice.
But no sources.
No source, no refutations.
No sources. Yes, no refutations. It's just bullshit, guys.
Maximilian Spurg says refuted in brackets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many brackets.
Of course they would refute it, wouldn't they? Foundation. British Israelism, I prefer Israelism. Yeah. It's just, I don't think we need the extra bit in there. British Israelism arose in England, then spread to the United States. Its adherents cite various supposedly medieval manuscripts to claim an older origin, but British Israelism appeared as a distinct movement in the early 1880s. I just love the Victorians. They were just fucking absolute mad lads, weren't they? Just going round, finding shit, making shit up.
Making shit up mostly, I think. It was just, this is ours now.
Yeah.
This piece of land is ours, yes? Yeah. Your history? No. This is your history.
Joseph
this is
Paxton.
Our history.
Joseph Paxton in his greenhouses.
Yeah. We was pharaohs and shit. Yeah, that's it.
Hobbits here in spirit.
Yeah.
Although scattered British Israel societies are known to have existed as early as 1872, there was no real move to develop an organisation beyond the small groups of believers which had arisen spontaneously. The beginnings of the movement as an identifiable religious force can therefore be more accurately placed in the 1880s, when the circumstances of the time were particularly propitious. I don't know, for the appearance of a movement so imperialistically orientated. But this is back to like the stuff we've been saying, like the 1800s. It's like when people were digging shit up and stuff like that. So why does this stuff just pop up in the 1800s?
But it's made up, maybe. Most of it, anyway. Honestly, like it feels like if you look at history with a fine-tooth comb these days, I just have to say most of it looks like bullshit. Like anything past
when was you first?
1800 looks like bullshit. Like, I can't.
When was your first dinosaur discovered? What's his name?
1800, 1770 something, wasn't it? I think it was.
Yeah, because didn't that directly lead to the
theory of evolution.
Darwinism. Didn't that directly lead to Darwinism? The dinosaur skeleton.
Darwinism came after the first discovery of dinosaurs, right? So it was to give credence to the idea that big turkey lizard turned into small bird lizard thing. Yeah. That's
But again, all of this stuff, 1800s. It's weird how all this stuff pops up in the 1800s.
Well, most of our history turns up in the 1800s. I have to tell you that, like, honestly, like,
discovered.
Go look, it's back in discovered, rediscovered, like. Well, here's the weird shit, right? Like, Europeans didn't know anything about ancient Egypt until the 1800s. You know that, right? Napoleon just took a trip. No, did you not? Oh, Napoleon, the famous story about going to, the Sphinx and shooting its nose off. No one knew the fuck the pyramids were there until the 1800s, it seems.
It's,
right?
Sergeant Oikman says Industrial Revolution, isn't it? Is it?
Well,
I suppose there's some sort of an explanation. Maybe the Industrial Revolution led to this class of, like, because all these people were pretty rich. Maybe the Industrial Revolution led to like a middle class who had all this spare time to start thinking about shit like this.
Well, that's a misnomer, isn't it? I mean, there was plenty of people to think before then, right? Like, what changed? Like, we used to have, like, hot summers and, wine fields in the south of England, right? Vineyards, right? As a climate change for people to stop, like, thinking like that, purely on survival until the late 1800s?
Yeah,
Plenty of people to think about these things before then, surely, right?
well, you've always had like an educated
According to
class, haven't you?
yeah, well, yeah,
It's just that I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of like a kind of rational explanation to this, but like you say, there isn't one really, and unless this was the beginnings of like faster travel. So
yeah.
I mean, did you have that kind of stuff occurring around this sort of time? So like you had a lot more rail travel then, didn't you?
Well, I mean, according to history, like, people travelled all the time. All these scholars and that, how many people suddenly, graduated at the University of Vienna and then suddenly appeared in, fucking Spain for like 5 years, then they went to Russia and then back to bloody, it's
well,
like they went everywhere.
but what about like the early centuries, like because I was watching this thing about the Ark, and Jeremiah had no trouble in the 6th century getting from fucking the Middle East to Ireland.
Well, here's the thing. This is something
Spain.
that was brought up when I was, doing my little research on what I'm going to talk about later on in another episode, I think. It's like, how we're all saying, the Vikings raided like the Mediterranean and shit, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever like seen them, like people to this day have been trying to recreate the Viking longships, like authentic ones, right?
Yeah.
And they've tried sailing from Norway to the Med, and do you know how many have succeeded?
Would it be 0?
It would be 0.
Why? What? Are they falling apart then, or what?
Yeah. They're just like wind and rain, the fucking Atlantic and shit. It's just like destroying these things. It's like, okay then, how did these Vikings get to fucking
America?
the Mediterranean then?
America. If they can't make it to the Med, how the fuck did they get to America?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just like, okay, so unless there's been a huge change in climate to like the storms or colder weather or whatever, it's bizarre. Yeah.
As Oinkman says, you just can't get the workmen these days.
No, exactly. Yeah, like can't even build a boat.
Yeah.
Well,
because the thing we're eventually going to get to whenever we talk about the Smithsonian, there's that place in the Grand Canyon full of Buddhist gear, isn't it?
Yeah, it was misattributed to being, Egyptian for some reason. Yeah, it's like because Egyptology was again all the rage back in the day. It's like, oh, what's this fascinating thing? Pyramids? What are they? It's this fascinating. Oh, let's
and then there's all that stuff. Did the Romans get there? I mean, the Romans were, I assume. I mean, were the Romans doing everything by land, or were they ships as well?
Well, here's the other thing, right? In the official history, guess who had the largest navy in the world at the time?
At which time?
The Roman times, around that time. It was the Egyptians. Did you know that?
No.
It was fascinating to know that they had the largest navy, right? Seaworthy ships, but they never went anywhere. Exactly. So like the Romans, like would they have gone as well? I don't know. But it's a bit weird, all these Romanesque buildings, isn't there, all over the place? So it's kind of like, what do you want to believe?
Like Maximilian says, the Smithsonian lost all the giant skeletons. We definitely need to do an episode on the Smithsonian, and we definitely...
Oh, yeah.
UNESCO, you fuckers, we're coming for you.
Yeah, we know who you are. We see you there.
UNESCO, we see what you're fucking up to. Apparently the pyramids were originally covered in marble. Yeah, I saw something about that the other day. Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, like, in all the mentions of like European history, or even
this is what Hobbit.
No one ever mentions the pyramids.
This is what Hobbit says, though. It seems like that we're living in the ruins of a more advanced civilization, doesn't it?
It definitely feels like it. Yeah, definitely. Like, there's something not right here with our history. It's again, we'll get onto the numerology later, maybe. But there's definitely something about dates just not right. Yeah, I mean the flamenco stuff as well. Like if anyone wants to read anything about the new chronology stuff, definitely read Antonio Flamenco. Like it's wild. Like some of the dates that are just out of sync. repeated
What's the
events.
thing I read
stuff
the other
like
week
that.
about the Sphinx? There's something under the Sphinx, isn't there? I think there's a UFO under there or something.
Oh, fuck's sake. God damn it. Sorry, how do my eyes roll nowadays when anyone says, "Oh, there's UFOs"? I'm just like, "Oh, really? Really? You mean like I'm fucking UFO lovers on Telegram? Fucking
UFO love.
yeah,
UFO lovers and the CGI UFOs.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh, UFOs. Oh,
Or
like,
ghost lovers, where the bottom of the door is always out of shot.
Yeah, exactly. Two great channels.
Anyway, let's dive back into this now. We've been on that big. So the peak adherence to British Israelism in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Did you know these fuckers nearly caused a war with Ireland over their bullshit? They just fucking went in and started digging up this thing to try and find the Ark. This is what I was watching earlier. It was hilarious. They just did not give a fuck. The extent to which the British clergy became aware of the existence of the movement may be gauged by the comment which Cardinal John Henry Newman made when he was asked why he'd left the Church of England in 1845 in order to join the Roman Catholic Church. He said there was a very real danger that the movement would take over the Church of England. So what happened to these geezers then? Did they just fucking dry up and disappear or what?
I'm not sure. I think they kind of migrated to America, right?
Seems like it.
Yeah. They kind of...
So in the late 19th century, Edward Hine, he was...
Heinz?
He was Hine, singular. Was an influential proponent of British Israelism. Don't know what he is. Let's see what he is. Career, bank clerk by occupation.
Aye.
Interesting geezer. And then you've got Edward Wheeler Bird, who was born in India in 1823 and was the son of a provincial judge. He returned to London for schooling and is listed in London's University College School's alumni as having attended from 32 to 38 and being a great Tamil scholar. So we was Indian. We was Indian, Israeli, British.
Well, that back in those days, they would have just... I mean, if he was from British stock, they would have classified him as an Englishman, wouldn't they? British.
It doesn't say what ethnicity he is.
It's not today, as
It doesn't say what ethnicity is, so he might have just been born there. And Herbert Aldersmith developed the British Israelite movement. Hine and Bird achieved a degree of doctrinal coherence by eliminating competing forms of the ideology. In 1878, the Anglo-Ephraim Association of London, which followed Wilson by accepting the broader community of Western European Germanic peoples as fellow Israelites who were also favoured by God, it was absorbed into Bird's Metropolitan Anglo-Israel. This is like Life of Brian, isn't it? Splitters. Anglo-Israel Association, which espoused the Anglo-exclusive, Bruce. So are you exclusively Anglo, or are you going to include the dirty Germans? I think of the two strains of it.
Exactly, yeah, that's it, yeah. It's a bit like today, isn't it? It's very reminiscent of the plight of British nationalists.
Yeah. Is it with or without humanity? By 1886, the Anglo-Israel Association had 27 affiliated groups throughout Britain. Hine later departed for the United States, where he promoted the movement. Don't you find that 27 affiliated groups, back to numerology again, is very similar to like the European Union? Like, is 28 one of these numbers, is it?
No, one of the numbers... Well, again, everyone knows 33.
Yeah.
The next one is 19. And then there's obviously 66. I think it was 66. I think there's another one as well. I can't remember exactly that one. But yeah, no, I don't think 27 is a number.
What the fuck? So the 1906 edition of the Jewish Encyclopedia stated that British Israelism's adherents are said to number 2 million in England and the United States. That's a fuck ton of people back then. Bearing in mind...
1906? Oh, wait, whoa. Let's look at world population 1906. population.
Well, I know our population was about 11 million at the height of the British Empire, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, so we go all the way back to 19. Wow. Okay, 1900s, right?
1906.
Wow, 1.6 billion was in 1900, right? That's not in Britain though, so we need to do UK maybe. Not
Well, they're
UK
saying 2 million
population.
in England and the United States, so it doesn't seem likely.
Yeah. Okay, continue. I'll look up that. I'll find the British.
An unreliable figure of association membership and journal subscription numbers are my guide. The number of passive Protestant sympathisers is almost impossible to determine. So, whoever this is, mind you, that they're not really on board anyway. The British Israelites, are they? Whoever wrote this wrote this thing anyway.
Yeah.
Between 1899 and 1902, adherents of British Israelism dug up parts of... This is the bit I read about, that I watched about earlier. Dug up parts of the Hill of Tara in the belief that the Covenant was the Ark of the Covenant was buried there, doing much damage to one of Ireland's most ancient royal and archaeological sites. At the same time, British Israelism became associated with various pseudo-archaeological pyramidology theories, such as the notion that the Pyramid of Khufu contained prophetic numerology of the British peoples. So let's go back. So the Hill of Tara. The Hill of Tara... Go on then.
That can't be right, surely.
What?
It was 43 million people in the United Kingdom.
That seems...
In 1906.
That seems like a large number, doesn't it?
That is a lot. I mean, if you look at the population, it's only increased by... it is like...
What are they saying the American population is?
I don't know. I'll have to have a look.
Oh, you only found British?
Yeah, I found the British one.
So the Hill of Tara... So the Hill of Tara is not to be confused with Tara Hill, which is in County Wexford. So the Hill of Tara, which is Teamhair or Knock na Temhrak, is a hill and ancient ceremonial burial site near Skrin in County Meath, Ireland. Tradition identifies the hill as the inauguration place and seat of the High Kings of Ireland. We'll get into the High Kings of Ireland a bit later on. And also appears in Irish mythology. Tara consists of numerous monuments and earthworks dating from Neolithic to the Iron Age. So you got a load of mounds there. So what they decided to do, they decided to get the lads down there and get stuck into one of these mounds.
Yeah. Right. Okay. You want to know the American population of 1906?
Go on then.
85 million.
God, that's crazy, isn't it?
I mean, the American population definitely exploded since then, but fucking hell, like...
That's crazy.
That seems way too... Well, actually, no. You know, to be honest, that might make sense, considering if it is 1.6 billion, right? And we know from fact that...
Well, you got to think what America was like at the time.
Of the world population.
Early 1900s, America was like that's not that far after like the Wild West and stuff, is it? So it wasn't like there weren't that many like massive cities and stuff, were there? Probably makes sense.
It'd all been built by then, yeah.
So the Pyramid of Khufu. Do you know what the Pyramid of Khufu is, Fraser?
Yes, I think so.
Go on then, tell us about the pyramid.
I don't off by heart, but I know what it is. It's one of the pyramids.
Oh, it's the Great Pyramid.
Yeah, it's one of the pyramids. I think it's a great one. Yeah,
it's weird they called it the Pyramid of Khufu, then, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the guy who built it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's the Great Pyramid. So they were talking about the Great. So it's a prophetic numerology for the British peoples. In 1914, the 34th year of its publication, the Anglo
34th.
3 years out. Anglo-Israel Almanac listed the details of a large number of kingdom identity groups which were operating independently throughout the British Isles, as well in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Canada and the United States of America.
Yeah.
So in 1919, the British Israel World Federation was founded in London, and Covenant Publishing was founded in 1922. William Pascoe Gord was the first member of the publishing house. During this time, several prominent figures patronised the BIWF organisation, and its publisher, Princess Alice, Countess of Athlone. So she's British royal family, she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is it? Princess was patron-in-chief prior to World War II. One of its highest profile members was William Massey, the then Prime Minister of New Zealand. Due to the expansive nature of the British Empire, believers in British Israelism spread worldwide, and the BIWF expanded its organisation to the British Commonwealth. Howard Rand promoted the teaching, and he became the National Commissioner for the Anglo-Saxon Federation of America. That really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? So that specifically
Let's call it SHIELD.
Yeah. The Anglo-Saxon Federation of America is specifically a British Israelite group. He published the Bulletin, later renamed the Messenger of the Covenant. More recently, it was renamed Destiny.
Oh god, that sounds loppy as shit, doesn't it?
That sounds like he's got. That sounds like he's gone from Anglo to Germany, doesn't it? With something like Destiny. The prolific author on British Israelism during the later 1930s-40s was Alexander James Ferris. So we'll see who he is. So his most successful work, When Russia Bombs Germany, sold over 60,000 copies. So when Russia bombed, so he wrote that book. So he wrote that the Book of Revelation contains cryptic references to the defeat of Nazi Germany and bombing of their cities. The work sold 60,000 copies and was very popular amongst Christians. George Orwell, however, negatively reviewed the work and considered Ferris to be a religio-patriotic lunatic.
I mean, wow, wait, okay. So what was the cryptic things he was mentioning? Because this just like screams like to me something about, I know everyone doesn't want to go on about Dresden, but
So all he's saying is the Book of Revelation contains cryptic references. So you'd probably have to read the book or find.
Wait, what? So was he saying like Dresden was like the warning of?
No,
is
he's
he going
talking
down
about
that route? The Armageddon kind of thing. Is that the call for the Jews to return to their homeland kind of thing? Is it or whatever? Is that what he's saying? Is that the 6 million 6 million Jews
his
died?
His bibliography has got some interesting books. Why the British are Israel? 9 conclusive facts proving the Anglo-Saxons represent the House of Israel of Scripture. British Israel teaching concerning the Great Pyramid of Giza. When Russia bombs Germany, we've already mentioned. Great Britain and the USA revealed as Israel the new order. Wrote that. When Russia invades Palestine, what is wrong with the churches and the remedy? Palestine for Jew or Arab? These are just like highlights of his work. The three-headed eagle, a foreview of the nations of Europe and their destiny, according to the prophet Esdras. Some of these might be actually quite interesting to read, wouldn't they? The resurrection of the 12 apostles. Peace. How will it come, or why there will be no third world war? Dude seems to know what he's talking about, doesn't he?
No idea. I've got some in here actually. It's related to this book that I was trying to find the book that he wrote about the 9 conclusive facts. I found something that's similar. It's on a website. It's Are the British descended from the 10 lost tribes? Draft of an article. I'll put it in the chat actually, so you can. If you want to bring it up on the screen, if you're sharing it or not.
Where is it?
I'll put it in the back chat. Where are you? In there. There you go, Hemi. So it's just a random blog, but it's got some interesting things on it, maybe. An interesting discovery was made recently in the National Library's archives, a draft of an article written by Adolf Stern in which a prominent Zionist Romanian leader criticised a new organisation, the British Israel World Federation. I think that was one of the things they were talking about up there, right? Before?
That BNIW thing? Yeah, I think that's the right one, yeah.
Yeah. Disputes, divisions, and larger groups splitting into smaller groups are familiar phenomena in Jewish world. However, in this article, Stone wanted to discuss a different grave threat that could be. I'm guessing this is from the the Israelis' perspective, which could be impediment to many Jews, despite its obscenity in innocent names. Stern warns at the beginning of this article that this is a Christian organization from Great Britain and the United States. In other words, from the Anglo-Saxon world, which by means of biblical, historical, ethnographical, archaeological, and linguistic proofs establishes a presumption that the British English are direct descendants of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. Where did such a peculiar idea come from, and how did Stern intend to fight it? Kings of England and heirs to King David. The belief among Christian nations that early European peoples and the British tribes are direct descendants of 10 lost tribes dates back to at least the 16th century. These principles were used, among other things, as a basis for England's departure from the Catholic Church in the Vatican. Oh, interesting. The followers of the cult were called the British Israelites. Okay, so...
do you notice they call it a cult? They don't like it, do they?
No. But it was not only Christians who took an interest in the lost tribes. In 1644, the rabbi of Amsterdam, Menish ben Israel, son of Portuguese Jews in Holland, believed that the natives of South America are descendants of the lost tribes. Rabbi Meneshi ben Israel, who was full of Jewish Messianic aspirations, reached these conclusions following his meeting of a apostate Jew from Spain named Aaron Levy, Antonio de Montesinos, who had returned from a rainforest in the Colorado Mountains in Quito region of Ecuador.
Quito?
Where he claimed to... Quito, yeah.
Yeah.
Where he claimed to met one of the lost tribes. Some 4 years later, Rabbi Ben Israel published this book, Mika Yisrael, in which he presented Aaron Levy's story as foretold under the title...
Oh, shit, we've spoken about Ben Israel
Aaron
before,
Levy.
But... Was that to do with that scam thing?
Was it?
Ben Israel.
No, but this was late 1800.
Oh, right, okay, so it can't be then.
It can't be the same good, right?
No, I did think it might have been Ben Israel. Yeah, we've definitely spoke about Ben Israel, but I can't remember what.
It sounds like a common name, to be honest. Like, his work was translated into English in 1652, published under the name "The Hope of Israel," and eventually presented to the Parliament of the State Council in England. Rabbi Meneshi ben Israel intended on one hand to improve the standing of the Jews in England by indicating a shared origin, and on the other hand hasten the process of redemption through the ingathering of exiles. However, Rabbi Ben Michel's intentions were taken out of context, and the book appears to have given a new impetus and further justification to the British imperialism under a different banner. Shit! No wonder they created their own golem, did they?
Yeah.
Unification instead of conquest. If the British Isles had previously been the border which the 10 tribes reached through conquest, from here on the population of the American continent would be a form of reunification of the tribes who had disappeared over hundreds of years.
So can we say when people attack British people, we can now call it anti-Semitism?
Yeah, let's do that, yeah. We were the real Israelites. See here, these rabbis says that we were the real Israelites.
Yeah.
Even though it's taken out of context, right? Supposedly. Depends what you believe, really. As years passed due to disputes, diverse genealogical ideas of different groups of followers of the British Israelites cult need to institutionalise ideas arose. Therefore, in 1919...
Sergeant Oinkwinson, he said he's just done a search and he reckons 25 million. I assume he's talking about the population of England at the time. That seems a bit more...
Yeah, the population doesn't... It's massive, fucking... But anyway, let's continue.
Where were you?
In 1919, the British Israel World Federation was established, which continued the tradition that some of the European nations, and especially the British, are the true Israelites, based on God's promise to Jacob, and God said to him, I am the Almighty God, and be fruitful and multiply. And a community of nations will stem from you, and kings will descend from your loins. Genesis 35:11, right? Before
Yeah.
revealing the great falsehood at the crux of the Federation, Stern describes principles of Anglo-American collaboration. The kings of England are the heirs of King David, and therefore the British Empire is destined to rule over the redeemed Jerusalem. Based.
Mm.
The 15,000 Jews in the world are not the children of the kingdom of Israel, but Jews descended from the kingdom of Judah. Yeah, that's where the Christian identitarianism comes in then.
Yeah.
The British Israel World Federation differentiates between the southern kingdom of Judah and the northern kingdom of Israel. They claim that both of these exiled from the kingdom of Israel to Assyria, and the majority of those exiled from the kingdom of Judah to Babylonia, did not return to their birthplace but made their way to Europe separately. Some 130 years apart, only a small number of the exiles of the kingdom of Judah returned to their homeland from the Babylonian exile, where they contributed to the building of the Second Temple. They are the forefathers of Jewish people. In contrast, the tribes of Israel, who were also known as Isaac's sons, wandered to Europe and became the Saxon tribes. Isaac, Saxon. Here is the linguistic etymological proof of such. Isaac's son, Saxon.
Saxon.
Saxon. Yeah, maybe. Federation claims that the tribe of Benjamin separated from the tribe of Judah.
This does sound like some
destruction of the
Black
temple.
Israelite tier stuff, though, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, this is basically Christian identitarianism. This is it.
I was reading more of this ARC stuff I've been reading. Did you know there are actually Black Israelites?
Yeah, I mean,
in Ethiopia.
Right?
In Ethiopia, because what I was reading about the Ark was that although she wasn't actually from there, because they found out she wasn't, the Queen of Sheba, or whoever this person actually was from Ethiopia, went to Jerusalem, wherever King Solomon was, had a child with him called, I think it was Menelik, and then Menelik ended up coming back to Ethiopia, and I think he brought a teacher with him. So then those people that followed his teachings became Mazel tov for my Ethiopian brothers. Yeah, so those actually became Jews, and I think they're actually seen as Jews, and they have the right of return.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Hemi has been listening to Dub, Zion and Ting. No, I've been reading books in the other room. I think it's Sign and Seal. It's about the Ark of the Covenant. It's written by someone called Graham Hancock. So, like, the start of the book, I'm only a couple of chapters in, but at the start of the book, he's in Ethiopia. That's the first place. That's the first place he thinks that the Ark is.
Right. Okay. So, do you want to continue reading this then, or should
Go
we
on then. Yeah, well,
to
this is
right. Okay. So, where was it? The Federation claims that Benjamin is separate from the tribe of Judah. Saxon. Right. Okay. So we're there. So the Federation claims that the tribe of Benjamin separated from the tribe of Judah following the destruction of the Second Temple and reached shores of British Isles as Normans several hundred years after the Saxons. In this manner, with the unification of the tribe of Dan with the tribe of Isaac's son, the Saxon, the united settlement Britain became the true people of Israel, through whom the biblical prophecy was fulfilled, because I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply your descendants like the stars of heaven, and the sand on the seashore of your descendants shall inherit the gates of their enemies. Genesis 22:17. In justification of the origin of kings of England, it's related to the daughter of Zedekiah, son of Joshua.
Zedekiah.
Josiah.
That's what's her name? I said about the woman who came to our island.
Yeah. Her father's legal heir reached England, where she managed to receive royal house of the dynasty of King David. The nation of kings arose in this British nation, who expanded over the years to a large confederation of nations, who eventually declared the constitution of the empire in Royal Conference of 1926, according to the constitution. Any nation can unite with the empire while maintaining its independence. In the article, Stern also discusses the Federation's attitude to the land of Israel and the role of the British in Palestine. While the Balfour Declaration aspired to establish the nation's homeland, and the writer of the mandate even aimed for Jewish self-rule. The Federation saw itself as exclusive heir to this territory. Neither the descendants of Ishmael, the Arabs, nor the Jews have any right to the land. The religious centre of the children of Israel is still in Jerusalem, which is not geographically located in Palestine, but in the British Isles. This is interesting, because we were very reluctant to give Palestine back to them.
Yeah, it was some real extreme terrorism is why we fucking give it up, because we had to.
That's very interesting. Then I wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Simon remains the site of the throne.
Are we saying the British Empire was the real Ticker Alam?
It might have been. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. That's very interesting. We were. Yeah. It's just, So anyway, the throne of King David is still the great city of King David, and is not currently in Palestine, but in the British Isles, together with David's tribe. The Stern quoted words written by William Pascoe Goad, the Vice President of the Federation, in the National Message and Banner newspaper in October 1929. Stern quotes another article from the same newspaper in November 1929 on the identity of the Jews and the Arabs. Regarding the question, who is a Jew, the writer of the article, David Gilbert, explains, first of all the British are not Jews. 11 tribes did not return, as described by Ezra and Nehemiah. The facial features of a Jew are not Israelite facial features, as the children of the tribe of Judah married idol worshippers, and their features are more Syrian than Israelite. Okay. So this is basically the belief that, the Israelites were of, like, European stock, basically, Northern European stock, right? And that the tribe of Judah then was more mixed with the Syrians.
So are they talking about, because I have seen stuff where they specifically talk about Ashkenazi and Sephardi, don't they?
I think they came later, but I think originally it was kind of the Ashkenazi were kind of, they came afterwards, didn't they? But the Sephardi were basically, they were the mix with the...
They're like the Spanish, aren't they? The Sephardi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The newspaper journalists ask the rhetorical question, what are we? The British looking for in Palestine, and responds, more than we received a mandate from the League of Nations, we received it from a higher power. On December 11th, 1917, Lord Allenby was stationed on Mount Zion and spoke before the military forces, which was most likely included representatives of Israelite tribes. 1,200 years ago, 3 crosses were seen reflected in the sky, and the king stood in the center in Jerusalem. The blue Crusader flag divided Jerusalem, the symbol of the largest empire of the world has ever known. We have things to look for in Jerusalem.
Oh, such as?
Well,
is this about the Ark again? The Ark or the Grail?
Yeah, exactly. Jesus' body,
Yeah, some people think the Ark and the Grail could be the same thing. I saw it the other day.
Okay. If so, Stern asked himself, what is the implication of the Federation of Zion? Indeed, on one hand it's an advantage, on the other hand a danger. The advantage is expressed by the liberation of Jerusalem from Turkish rule, and the danger is opposed by the Federation's desire to claim the authority of a mandate. However, Stern cast a doubt on the success of this religious utopia whereby Palestine belongs to the King of England and to the British Empire. If it was not from those blasted upstarts. Opposition to the mandate from the British parties, many of the people have taken an interest in the Jewish people. Stern writes, from Oliver Cromwell to Lord Balfour, this federation's objective is not the establishment of a national home for Jewish people, but building Jewish identity and culture alongside the local residents without increasing the number of Jews in Israel. Oof. It's racist.
Anti-Semitism.
That is. Thereby takes the Balfour Declaration out of context.
So do you want me to read this one? Foreign Office, November the 2nd, 1917. Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you on behalf of His Majesty's government the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet. His Majesty's government, with favour from establishment in Palestine of a biblical... Oh, fucking hell, that's not fucking... Try opening image. Yeah, it's a bit blurry. It's national home for the Jewish with favour for the establishment of Palestine for a national home for the Jewish people, and we use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object. It's being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. So what's he saying? So literally he's saying that he's not really giving Palestine to the Jews there, is he?
No. He's just like saying, yeah, you can go there, but you gotta, it's still ours, basically.
We don't mind you. We don't mind you staying, but you can't have the place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it is.
Right.
Well, that was a bit of a spin on it.
That was interesting.
Yeah. That was a bit interesting. So that was a bit more context behind this federation thing, I think.
So the contemporary movement now, the BIWF continues to exist with its main headquarters in Bishop Auckland, County Durham. It also has chapters in Australia, Canada, the Netherlands, New Zealand, and South Africa. It's weird that there's quite a few countries have disappeared from that.
Oh.
What is it? The USA have abandoned it, but they've got Christian identity now, haven't they?
Yeah, that's the newest version of it, yeah.
So I assume they've got that. And not only that, they've got like a million different versions of Christianity anyway, haven't they? Yeah. In 1968, one source admitted that there were between 3,000 and 5,000 British Israelites in Britain. They're the theology of... what's the chat say? So the Balfour Declaration... wasn't as ridiculous as most believe, or am I misunderstanding? No, I don't think you are misunderstanding there. It was like, yeah, we don't mind you staying, but don't shit the place up.
Basically, it didn't say anything about we're going to give this piece of land to you. It wasn't like,
yeah. Is that actually the declaration? Is that actually the declaration though?
Yeah, it looks like it, right?
Yeah, so here you go.
Yeah.
So like it says in the let's just repeat the last sentence. So the Federation's objective is not the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people, but building Jewish identity and culture alongside the local residents without increasing the number of Jews in Israel. Therefore takes the Balfour Declaration out of its context.
Yeah.
So the Spurgs are wrong. So the Spurgs are wrong again. The internet lied to me again, The internet will do that to you. But then again, this is quite anti the British Israelites and quite pro-Jewish. So they could be underplaying it. So look at your sources, people.
Yeah, exactly.
So there we go. Always check your sources, people. Must be a Babylonian source you're reading from.
It probably is, yeah.
Yeah,
Babylonian bias. Yeah.
as we always say, just like never believe anything you read on the internet. In 1968, so there's between 3,000 and 5,000 British Israelites in Britain. The theology of British Israelism has been taught by a few small Pentecostal churches. So Pentecostal is... What is Pentecostal? I don't even know what it is. So it emphasises direct personal experience of God through baptism with the Holy Spirit. Pentecostal is derived...
one of the clappy shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think it's the American version, though.
It's derived from Pentecost, an event that commemorates the descent of the Holy Spirit upon the apostles and the other followers of Jesus Christ while they're in Jerusalem celebrating the Feast of Weeks, as described in the Acts of Apostles. So this seems like the only sort of thing that it can only really live in an imperial era, can't it?
Yeah.
I don't think it can survive out of, like, it seems like very much a movement of its time, isn't it? You know, like when the British were on top.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, well, it's like any empire seeks to claim its, legitimacy, I guess, right?
Yeah, they're
Rome did it,
imperial fanboys, aren't they? Like, it's like,
yeah, exactly. Rome did it with its, plea to the, being descended from Troy, and that places as such, and yeah, every empire's done this, haven't they? They've claimed some kind of divinity, right, or a great historical legacy.
Yeah, the Yanks, the Yanks have done it as well, haven't they? The post-imperial era brought about a change in orientation for British Israelists. Obviously, it changed the the loss of power meant God's not really smiling on you anymore, doesn't it? Reflecting in a corresponding change in the social class to which their membership predominantly belonged. During the years of initial growth, it could depend on the spread of Christian fundamentalism within the country, the emotional appeal of imperialism, and a belief that in the unrivaled power of the British economy to expand a middle-class membership that viewed it as the divine duty of a nation, as God's chosen people to rule and civilise the world. By the mid-20th century, the dissipation of these factors changed the focus of the movement to untroubled by social and moral decline, including the degradation of class distinctions and of monarchical absolutism. Societal changes were viewed as portents of a coming apocalypse and as indicators that the nation was in need of redemption. A fantasised society which practised Victorian moral rectitude and imperialism, lacked socialism, bureaucrats, intellectuals and income tax would now come to be viewed by the movement which drew its support from the well-to-do as the ideal that modern British society should emulate. So, tenets. Most Israelites are not Jews. Adherents believe that 12 tribes of Israel are the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob, who was later named Israel. Jacob elevated the descendants of Ephraim and Manasseh, the two sons of Joseph, to the status of full tribes in their own right, replacing the tribe of Joseph. A division occurred among the 12 tribes in the days of Jeroboam and Rehoboam, with the 3 tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and in part Levi forming the kingdom of Judah, and the remaining 10 tribes forming the kingdom of Israel, Samaria. Thus, they argue, the great bulk of Israelites are not the Jews. W.E. Filmer, writing in 1964, suggested that the fact that some Jews continue to search for the 10 lost tribes implies that their representatives are not found among modern-day multi-ethnic Jews. What's that? There's okay. A number of British Israelites quote Josephus in order to support their claim the lost tribes of Israel are not Jews. The entire body of the people of Israel remained in that country, wherefore there are but 2 tribes in Asia and Europe subject to the Romans, while 10 tribes are beyond the Euphrates till now are an immense multitude.
See, this is interesting because, again, this kind of ties into some of maybe the mud flood stuff. But the Euphrates is the opposite way from Europe, right? Euphrates is the river in Iraq, right?
Let's have a look.
So beyond the Euphrates mean it's the other way, right?
Right,
so,
the Euphrates is the longest and one of the most historically important rivers of Western Asia. Together with the Tigris, it is one of the 2 defining rivers of Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers. Originating in Turkey, the Euphrates flows through Syria and Iraq to join the Tigris in the Shat al-Arab, which empties into the Persian Gulf.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? It's saying here that they're beyond the Romans, right? So that means they're beyond the Euphrates. That means they went into Asia or northern, past Turkey up into northern, Siberia and northern Russia, right? That way towards Russia, right? Not towards Europe. So how does that equate then to being of, if we're the lost tribes, then how did they get to England? If they went the opposite way.
Well,
right?
the thing I watched about the Ark earlier, they said that the route was they went to Spain, so they went around the Med. So you go around the Med, So they went to Spain. They stopped off somewhere else. I can't remember where it was, and then they went from Spain to Ireland. So I assume you'd do it by. I assume you'd do it by sea. You wouldn't do it by land.
Right. Okay. But this would it says here specifically, Israel remained in that country wherefore there are but 2 tribes in Asia and Europe subject to the Romans. So 2 tribes are in Europe, they're subject to the Romans, right?
Yeah.
To be beyond the Euphrates then means going into Asia. So when they're talking about the Asia there, they're talking about the ones that stayed in Palestine and Israel today.
Asia and Europe, 10 tribes. No, so they're saying 2 went that way towards Asia and Europe, while the other 2 went where the other 10 went the other way. Then, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it's saying, right? But that's in towards Asia, not in towards Europe. So the 10 tribes went towards Asia, right? So they went into either northern Russia, like Siberia way, or they went towards China and Kurdistan and Mongolia that way, right?
Yeah, so that would that then be towards China, would it?
Yeah, that way. Yeah, they went that way. Past Persia, kind of into Persia way, right? So it's beyond the Euphrates, which is bizarre. If they're trying to make that support that they were from 10 lost tribes. Why did it seem like?
Would that be off towards Iran then? Wouldn't it? Baghdad, Iran, Turkey.
Yeah.
But no, Turkey.
No. Persia. It's Persia, like Persia and places like that, like off towards Iran. Yeah, modern day Iran, basically. Past that point, right? So how does that equate to them going to Europe? That's the first kind of. It doesn't. Which is again, this is interesting because the mud flood stuff that I've been looking at kind of suggests, and especially with this, suggests that maybe they did, these 10 lost tribes or whoever they were, went towards like Siberia way, and then that ties in with the Mongols and who became the Mongolian Empire, because then they spread back into Europe, right, and conquered most of Europe, right?
Well,
I mean, this is where
also the weird thing. The Goths are also included in the Ark myth, because apparently when the Goths sacked Rome, they took the Ark is one of the things. They took the Ark, and as they were leaving to go home, the leader of I can't remember his name, but the leader died, and they actually altered the course of a river and buried him in the riverbed. And then put the river back, and they think the Ark could be under a river. I can't remember where though.
Okay, but yeah, this kind of ties into like, well, okay, because the descriptions of the Mongol, the Khans and that, are very westernized. They're not, Chinese, Chinese men of Chinese descent. Kind of, they are, East Asian descent. They're of what we call, Northern European descent, which is interesting,
Yeah.
Genghis Khan, he was ginger-haired and green-eyed, right?
Oh, blue-eyed. Oh, he was like a ginger-haired mummy then, was he? Like you got the ginger-haired mummies as well.
His description was, was blue-haired and, ginger hair and blue eyes, right?
So being played by John Wayne was accurate then, was it?
Well, yeah. So yeah, it was kind of. Yeah, this ties in then to like, well, what are the Mongols, and then it goes into Moscow, right? Kind of, this idea that Moscow may be the followers of, Moses, and New Israel was maybe, in northern, in Russia there, and that's why Napoleon and whoever, Saint Peter and Peter the Great, was it Peter the Great? Attacked Moscow, right? Why?
Oh yeah, we did that before, didn't we?
Yeah. Who were they attacking? They were attacking Moscow, right? So who were the who were the Muscovites, right?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, then, doesn't it? Like, okay, so the 10 tribes, who were they? Were they, people who went on to found the Mongol Empire, whatever we think of the Mongol Empire, and then later, they were destroyed, and covered up by, modern day Russia and the rest of the world, Tartaria basically. So it's interesting. It's fascinating stuff. It all kind of.
It's funny how you've covered it from the mud flood, but I've covered it from the ark, and we've kind of been in the middle. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the key.
This is it. History's. It's not as they say it is. There's something going on here. Yeah.
The key component of British Israelism is its representation of the migrations of the lost tribes of Israel. Adherents suggested the Scythians, Sumerians. I've read too much. This is confusing me now because I've read a lot of Conan. Scythians and Cimmerians are both from Conan as well, aren't they?
Well, isn't it? Was it who wrote Conan again? Was it
Robert E. Howard, who also wrote. What's the other one he wrote? The Witch Hunter guy.
Oh, okay.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, but basically, like Conan is based upon the old world stuff, like this stuff, the Scythians and that. Yeah,
because obviously Conan's the last Cimmerian, isn't he?
Yeah.
So the Scythians, the Cimmerians, and the Goths were representatives of these lost tribes and the progenitors of the later invaders of Britain. John Wilson would argue for the inclusion of all Western European Gothic peoples among the descendants of the Israelites, but under the later influence of Edward Hine, the movement would come to view only the peoples of the British Isles as having this ancestry. Herodotus reported that the ancient Persians called all of the Scythians Sacae, but they called themselves Scolotti. So obviously Sacae, Isaac, we're going back into that again. But they called themselves Scolotti. However, a modern comparison of the forms which are given in other ancient languages suggests that Scuda was their name. Ancient writers such as Josephus and Jerome would associate the Scythians with the peoples of Gog and Magog, but the British is. What's this then?
Gog and Magog. Then that's the old age question of who the fuck are Gog and Magog.
So according to Ezekiel 38, Gog is an individual and Magog is his land. In Genesis 10, Magog is a man, an eponymous ancestor of a nation, but no Gog is mentioned. So that's the quick bit of it. But British Israelist etymologists would see Sacae derived from the biblical Isaac, claiming that the appearance of the Scythians, where they claim the lost tribes were last documented, also supported a connection. Further, British Israelists find support in the superficial resemblance between King Yehu's pointed headdress and that of captive Saka King. Saka, what's Saka? Right, there's a hyperlink to this. Saka, Shaka, or Sacae were a group of nomadic Iranian peoples who historically inhabited northern and eastern Eurasian steppe and Tarim Basin. That of the captive Saka king, seen to the far right on the Behistun rock. The chain of etymological identification leading from Isaac to Sacae was continued to the Saxons, interpreted as Sax sons of Isaac, as we said earlier. What else we got? So Oinquinson says, I think the place is meant to be in Russia. It's aware. So I think he's talking about Gog. Is he talking about Magog there, is he?
Maybe, yeah. Well, there we go. That's another thing, place in Russia,
Russia
we all went to fight the Russians for some reason in the 1800s. Why was that? That's when the wall started melting and shit, didn't it?
So this is getting more interesting. So the sons of Isaac, who are portrayed as invading England from Denmark, the land of the tribe of Dan. So is Dan one of the lost tribes? Is it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So they saw the same tribal name left by the wanderers in the Dardanelles, the Danube, Macedonia, Dunkirk, and Dunglow in Ireland, Dundee in Scotland, Sweden, and London. and ascribed to this the lost tribe of the mythical Irish, Tuatha Dun Danann. In the name of the British, they see Burithish, referring to the Hebrew covenant with God. So, Bede. So let's see who Bede is. Bede, also known as Saint Bede, the Venerable Bede, and the Bede the Venerable, was an English monk at the monastery of Saint Peter. So Bede died 735. Is that he died at 735 or 735
No, he died
AD?
in 70. I think that's AD. Yeah.
I think I missed the AD off. I had linked the Picts to the Scythians, but the British Israelites suggested that he had confused the two tribes of Scotland and that it was the Scots, who were one with the Scolotti, the Scythes of Herodotus.
That's very interesting, isn't it? Scolotti and Scott. Yeah, that's... Because, well, you do know that in the Scottish, I think it's the Declaration of Independence?
Yeah.
They do reference themselves being from Scythian lineage.
Oh, okay then.
So, that came later though, obviously. So, again, is that a fact of they just want to make their their new nation sound important? Give themselves an identity kind of thing, or were they actually related to this Scotty?
I don't know. It's kind of weird with Scotland because from what I've been hearing and reading lately, like a lot of Scotland isn't really Scotland, is it? It's kind of it's Ireland, isn't it? Like it's been kind of taken over, hasn't it?
Well, that's recent, isn't it? It's not. This is the ancient kind of like 12th, 11th century Scots. These were the ones who were.
They drew particular support from the derivation of the Scots from the Scythians found in the 1320 Declaration of Arbroath.
There we are.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. That's the one I'm talking about, yeah.
Reflecting a tradition related in the 9th century Historia Britonum that the Scots descended from the union of a Scythian exile with Scotta, the daughter of a pharaoh, a tale found in some form in several other 14th century historical and poetic sources. The declaration begins. Before I say that, you've also got the Faroe Islands. Like, the Faroe Islands is a weird name for the place where it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, the beginning of the declaration. Most Holy Father and Lord, we know from the chronicles and books of the ancients that we find that among other famous nations, our own the Scots has been graced with widespread renown. They journeyed from Greater Scythia by way of the Tyrrhenian Sea and the Pillars of Hercules, and dwelt for a long course of time in Spain among the most savage tribes. But nowhere could they be subdued by any race, however barbarous. Hence they came, 1,200 years after the people of Israel crossed the Red Sea, to their home in the west, where they still live today. So what do you think to that then, Fraser?
I mean, well, it doesn't actually say... Oh, yeah, it does, yeah. Is that actually a quote from it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how the declaration begins.
Have they got the rest of it, though? Oh, no. Declaration of Arbroath, here we are. Okay, so Declaration of Arbroath, Bates text, full text. Why do I have to click on another link to get English translation? Okay, so do you want me to read the actual translation?
You can read a bit more if you want. Any particularly interesting points?
Okay, so this is not actually the beginning of it. The beginning begins to most saintly Father Christ, death, church. Okay. Oh wait, that's basically just like fucking hell, listing off all the titles of all the people he sent it to. Okay, so yeah, we got the first thing. We got the merits of nobility of these people, even if they were not obvious from the other signs, shine out openly enough from this. Not even though they lived at the furthest most ends of the earth, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ, after his passion and his resurrection, called them nearly the first to his holy faith, nor did he want to confirm them in said faith by anyone but the first of an apostle. Despite being second or third in rank, the brother of the blessed Peter, gentle Saint Andrew, who ever since he was asked to protect from their patron, from them as their patron. However, as Holy Fathers, our predecessors, in sending these thoughts to the careful mind bestowed on its very kingdom of people, very many favours and countless privileges, since it was a special charge of the blessed Peter's brother. Thus, obviously, the result was, until now, our people live free and untroubled under their protection until the mighty Prince Edward, King of the English and father of he who now reigns, came with the appearance of a friend and ally to harass like an enemy our leaderless kingdom and our people, who were accustomed neither to evil or treachery, nor to the battles of the ambushes. He commanded injustices, killings, attacks, robberies, arsons, blah blah blah. Okay, so it's list off the crimes he's done. From these countless evils, yeah, I think that's probably the most. Holy Father. So basically, he sent this to the Pope, saying, "Yeah, look, we're now a country. This guy's an asshole,
Dickhead."
Yeah.
20 grand a year, be a fucking dickhead.
Your Holiness trusting too much in the English version of these events. Well, basically, he's right. If Your Holiness trusting too much in the English version of these events does not truly believe us, or does not stop supporting them to our disadvantage, then we believe that the slaughter of bodies, the loss of souls, and the other things that will follow, the injustices that they will do to us and we to them, will be blamed on the Most High on you. Thus it is as if your sons are always and will be ready to do for you, High Vicar, whatever we require insofar as our duty, and so we commit upholding that to our cause, the Supreme King and Judge, and trusting our worries to him and completely in confidence. May God grant you holiness, the health in his holy church for a long time. Sent from the monastery of Arbroath in Scotland on the 6th day of the month, April, in the year of our grace 1320, 15th year of our abovishment king's reign. Above mentioned king's reign. Okay. Alright, so that was 15 years after the Scottish king came. Okay. Right. Alright, so yeah, basically that was the most important part, yeah.
So British-Israel Association cite the declaration as evidence for the link between the Scots and the Scythians, hence the lost tribes, as had been proposed by the early British Israelist etymologists. Other Celtic invaders would also be given an analogous descent. In the Welsh Cymry, the British Israelites would see a direct connection through Cimbri, through the Cimbri, ancient tribe in Europe. Ancient authors describe them as variously as Celtic people, or Gaulish, Germanic people, even Cimmerian. Several ancient sources indicate that they lived in Jutland, in which some classical text was called the Cimbrian Peninsula. There is no direct evidence for the language they spoke, although some scholars argue it may have been a Germanic language, while others argue it may have been Celtic. So they're saying that the does this mean I'm the last Cimmerian, much like
yeah, you are Conan.
Directly to the Cymri to the Cimmerians and the Gimri of Assyrian annals. So yeah, I mean that might explain the Welsh language. It's Cimmerian. But my grandfather never taught me the riddle of steel. Is it? What was it from Conan? The riddle of steel. So the riddle of steel.
Yeah.
Crom.
I think so.
I need to start praying to Crom.
Yeah, exactly.
A name sometimes also given by the ancient Babylonians to the Scythians and Saka. Perceived similarity between this and the name by which the Assyrian annals refer to Israel, Bit Cymru, would leave the British Israelites to claim that Welsh too were members of the lost tribes. Bit Cymru, like Plaid Cymru, means Wales. Cymru means Wales, doesn't it?
Yep.
But spelled differently.
Whatever it means. Whatever. Cymru, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Because you've got Plaid Cymru, which is the nationalist party, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the words change over time, right? But it's, yeah.
It's pronounced the same, but spelled different.
Yeah, so it has a root in the language. Supposedly that's how like linguists would say, it's got a root to the original language, right? So it's changed, but it's not like... But this is it. How do you know that? It's in two different languages, so how do you know that,
Yeah.
They mean it's the same thing, right? It's like... I mean, we can say that, dog in English is dog, and then there's obviously Hund is German, but
yeah.
They're the same thing, right? But they're different.
Yeah, I mean it could be. According to the Anglo-Israelists, these claimed connections will make British the literal descendants of the lost tribes and thus inheritors to the promises made to the Israelites of the Old Testament. So, here's some stuff I put off from earlier. So, the British throne is a continuation of the Davidic throne. Some adherents further claim the British royal family is of lineal descent from the house of King David via a daughter of Zedekiah, the last king of Judah. According to this legend, the prophet Jeremiah and his scribe Baruch escaped with the king's daughters. So this is from Jeremiah 41:10 and 43:6 to Egypt. So that's it. They went to Egypt and then they went to Spain and then they went to Ireland. Was what I saw.
Yeah.
They later travelled to Ireland, where one of the surviving Judahite princesses, Tefi, married a local High King of Ireland. From this fabled union, the Davidic throne was supposedly preserved, having been transferred to Ireland, then Scotland, later England, whence the British monarchs are alleged to have descended. The British Israelites also sent, in this thing I watched, they also sent Queen Victoria a letter going, "Did you know you were related to the throne of David?" She said, "Yeah." That was basically her reply. The Stone of Scone, which has been used in the coronations of Scottish, English, and British monarchs. That's quite topical, isn't it? King Charles's coronation's coming up.
Yeah.
He's traditionally claimed to be the pillow stone on which the biblical patriarch Jacob slept, and the stone used in David's coronation. So the Stone of Scone is supposedly that old.
Yeah.
Britain and the... Go on then. What's that, Fraser?
I mean, have you seen? Well, you've seen it. It's actually pretty old. Yeah. Oh, it's a replica. Oh, okay.
Oh, is it?
Where's the real one then? So where'd the real one go if it's a replica?
Ooh. I don't know. I know. What's his name? Is it Captain Blood stole the British?
Oh, okay. So in 1986, the British government decided to return the stone to Scotland. When not in use at coronations, it was transported to Edinburgh Castle, where it's now kept with the Scottish crown jewels. Okay.
Yeah, because the British crown jewels got stolen, didn't they, years ago? By Captain Blood.
Did they?
Captain Bloody was Irish. Oh yeah, if you want to see good history stuff, you want to find Vic Reeves did a TV series. I can't remember what it was called now. Oh shit, I can't remember. But Vic Reeves did a really good history series that's well worth watching. He tears Rob Roy a new one when he does that, and what's his name, Braveheart as well. That I don't know whether that's worth a whole episode, Braveheart, but it is interesting, isn't it? That basically the Scottish wanted their own Robin Hood, so they I think, is it 200 years after his death they wrote William Wallace's story.
Oh, is this the thing about he didn't actually exist kind of thing? It's just
he did exist, but he was just like
it was like four different.
He was just like a cattle rustler. That's about it.
Was he?
Yeah, but they turned him into like this Robin Hood figure like 200 years after his death. You know? They wrote the book. I think Rob Roy was much the same sort of person, weren't he? Because I think what Rob Roy used to do was he used to buy cattle from one. He used to steal cattle from one landowner and sell it to another, and it'd be like a circular thing like that. And I think they just got fed up of him in the end. Right, so Britain and the United States are the inheritors of Jacob's birthright. A commonly held British Israel doctrine is the belief that the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Manasseh can be identified as modern-day Britain and the United States of America. Part of the foundation of the British Israel doctrine is the theological claim that particular blessings were bestowed upon three of the tribes of Israel. In that the tribe of Judah was to be the chief ruler, e.g. King David. Ephraim was to receive the birthright, see Jacob and Esau. Adherents believe that these blessings have continued down through the ages to modern times, with the British monarchy being identified as the continued blessing upon Judah, and both Britain, Ephraim, and USA, Manasseh, as recipients of the national birthright blessing. They cite passages such as Cron 5:1-2 and Genesis, I don't know what Cron is, and Gen, which I assume is Genesis 48:19-20, in order to Chronicles, is it, to support their claim. Claims and criticism. Let's get to the criticism part. British Israelism has been criticised for its poor research and scholarship. In the 1910 edition of the Encyclopaedia Britannica, I'd actually be inclined to believe that, because I've found the Britannica to be based a couple of times now. An article which summarises the theology of British Israelism contains a statement that the theory of British Israelism rests on premises which are deemed by scholars, both theological and anthropological, to be utterly unsound. Current scholarship is not consistent with the claims of British Israelism, with scholars drawing attention to its historical and linguistic inaccuracies, in addition to its links to anti-Semitism. Oh, anti-Semitism. Hale 2015 it refers to the overwhelming cultural, historical and genetic evidence against it.
Whoa. So wait, they're citing a 1910 edition that says this is all poppycock. But
no,
yeah,
Hale,
they're using...
Hale
That's what I mean. They're using
2015 as
Hale. Well, that's it. Like, where's... Okay, so this 1910 edition. And then the next refutal is in 2015?
Yeah.
Is that because it was a resurgence of it?
As no one bothered in between.
Yeah, are the only two refutations of it? Like,
yeah.
What are the actual refutations other than overwhelming cultural and historical genetic evidence against it?
But even they don't really do that, because all they say is it rests on premises which are deemed by scholars. So even the encyclopedia doesn't refute it. The encyclopedia said it wasn't me, it was them, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so research standards.
Research standards. The critics of British Israelism note that the arguments which are presented by the promoters of the teaching are based on unsubstantiated and highly speculative amateur research. Tudor Parfit, the author of Lost Tribes, A History of a Myth, states that the proof cited by adherents of British Israelism is of feeble composition even by the low standards of the genre. Based.
Right, okay, so yeah, but what is he actually saying is wrong with it? Right, why is it wrong?
Just feeble composition. That's it.
Okay, that's weak, right? I wanna know, why is it wrong? Like, where's the evidence say it's wrong? Or,
it is pretty weak source. I mean, I'm not going to deny it. It does sound pretty crap, doesn't it?
It just says no you. It's basically a no you of the fucking 19th century, isn't it?
Some proponents of British Israelism have claimed that numerous links exist between historical linguistics, ancient Hebrew, various European place names and languages. This can be traced to the works of John Wilson in the 19th century. The self-trained Wilson, like implying that self-trained is bad, he's not credentialed at all, Fraser. This is why you shouldn't listen.
That's right. Okay, yeah, that's right. You need to have a degree with a stamp that says you've been through the education system to be official, right? We've heard that one before.
Looked for similarities in the sounds and words and argued that many Scottish, British and Irish words stemmed from ancient Hebrew words. Wilson's publications inspired the development of British Israel language associations in Europe. So basically all they're saying is that he's looked at etymology and we don't believe his etymology is correct. I think is the I mean, at least they've had a pop at it.
I disagree. Basically, is that
modern scholarly linguistic analysts conclusively shows. Modern scholarly linguistic analysis conclusively shows that the language of the British Isles, English, Welsh, and Gaelic, belong in the Indo-European family, while Hebrew belongs in the Semitic branch of the Afro-Asiatic language family. In 1906, T.R. Lounsbury stated that no trace of the slightest real connection can be discovered between English and ancient Hebrew, while in 1993, Michael Friedman refuted claims that Hebrew was closely related to Celtic and Anglo-Saxon when he wrote that the actual evidence could hardly be any weaker. Others have addressed that specific word relationships proposed. Russell Spittler, 1973, says of the disputable etymological claims by the British Israelists that they have no ample basis in linguistic scholarship and are based on coincidences only, William Ingram, 1995, would present arguments made by British Israelism as examples of tortured etymology. I mean, I'm not great with etymology, but don't we have a lot of Latin in our language? Isn't Latin kind of that way?
No, French. We have a lot of French, actually, in our language.
We have a lot of French. We have a bit of Latin as well, don't we?
Well, I mean, most medical terms are
Yeah.
considered, Latin or whatever you want to call
Plant
it.
names, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, it's basically what they're saying is the tribe of Dan, Danube and all that. Just like, that's just, yeah. No, it's not the same. Doesn't mean the same thing in this one. Like I was saying earlier, between like dog and hound, right? That's the old flex in it.
Yeah. So scriptural interpretation. Adherents of British Israelism cite various scriptures in support of the argument that the lost, quotes and quote unquote, lost northern Israelite tribes migrated through Europe to end up in Britain. Demont, 1933, argues that British Israelists misunderstand and misinterpret the meaning of these scriptures. As a side note to that, Joseph without Arimathea, which is that Jesus' dad's cousin or something? Joseph, he's been to Cornwall, hasn't he? Joseph, and that's pretty much documented, isn't it?
Yeah. Supposedly, yeah. It's claimed, that, I guess these guys would, but it's so claimed.
Yeah. So it's not like entirely impossible that people could get from there to here.
No, exactly.
Aren't there even some rumours that even Jesus came here for a bit?
Well, I think that's when he came with, Joseph or Arimathea when he was.
Oh, was it? He came with Joseph or Arimathea.
Yeah, the lost 20 years or whatever it was. After the temple where he turned, water into wine and shit.
Isn't like a lot of the lost years? Isn't that from one of the found versions, like where Jesus went a bit Damien for a bit?
Well, no, he just disappeared for 20 years, didn't he? And then all of a sudden.
Well, I thought something had come back in like the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Book of Enoch or something like that, where it turned out that Jesus was actually went a bit Damien for a bit, and that's why it's not in the Bible.
Well, no, I mean, I don't know. Again, it's like it could be it's just edited out because he was a dude, He knew a lot of whores, didn't he? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm going to hell for that, but I'm just saying.
I'm sure I heard something where they said some story about Jesus where he killed and then brought back to life some kid he used to go to school with or something like that. Like he went a bit Damien in his early years.
Well, as I say, after the temple, where he turned water into wine and shit, he kind of just disappeared after that, didn't he? When he was like 9 or 10 or something, then reappeared when he was 30, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is interesting.
Right, so one such case is the distinction that British Israelists make between Jews of the Southern Kingdom and Israelites of the Northern Kingdom. They believe the Bible consistently distinguishes between the two groups. Demont says that many of these scriptures are misinterpreted because after the captives, the distinction between Jews and Israelites was lost over time. Oh, the old lost over time argument.
Yes.
The lost over time, I'd like to say citation needed. Even Wikipedia says citation needed.
Yeah, this is it's hubris. This is hubris of.
Well, look at this. But this refutation, they believe the Bible consistently distinguishes between the two groups. Citation needed. Demont says that many of these scriptures are misinterpreted because after the captivities, the distinction between Jews and Israelites was lost over time. Citation needed. So they're like, let's have a look. Let's do it. Like all of these refutations here, citation needed on them. British Israelists believe that the northern tribes of Israel lost their identity after the captivity in Assyria. So, what's the captivity in Assyria? Is the period of history of ancient Israel and Judah during which several thousand Israelites from the Kingdom of Israel were forcibly relocated by the Neo-Assyrian Empire. This is one of the many instances of the resettlement policy of the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Oh, excuse me. And that this is reflected in the Bible. Citation needed. Demont agrees with this assertion and argues that only higher-ranking Israelites were deported from Israel, and many Israelites remained. He cites examples that after the Assyrian captivity, such as Josiah, the king of Judah, who received money from the tribes of Manasseh, Ephraim, and all the remnant of Israel, and Hezekiah, who sent invitations not only to Judah but also to northern Israel for the attendance of Passover in Jerusalem. British Israelites interpret 2 Chronicles 34:9 as referring to Scythians. Citation needed, apparently, on that one. Demont is also critical of the interpretations of biblical prophecy embraced by the movement, saying texts are torn from their context and misapplied without the slightest regard to their original meaning. So, that's not a real... doesn't seem like a real refutation, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't, no.
He's just gone, oh, context, bro. What's the context, bro?
I mean, here's the thing as well. They're claiming, Neo... Who would say, oh, we're the Neo-British Empire? Who would name their thing Neo? Like, I mean, that's just something
that was the hyperlink on. Yeah, that was the hyperlink for the.
But this is it. Empire. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. It's like that's our calling something what it is. I mean, that's all. You can
only call something Neo in retrospect, really, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, okay. Yeah, so like what are we now, the Neo-British Empire? Like, right, is that it?
We will be soon.
That time period? Yeah.
We will be soon. British Israelism rests on linking different ancient populations. This includes linking the quote-unquote lost tribes of Israel with Scythians, Sumerians, Celts, and modern Western Europeans such as the British. To support these links, some adherents believe that the similarities exist between various cultural aspects of these population groups, and they argue that these links demonstrate the migration of the lost Israelites in a westerly direction. Examples given include burial customs, metalwork, clothing, dietary customs, and more. Demont argues that the customs of the Scythians and the Sumerians are in contrast to those of the ancient Israelites, and he further dismisses the connection between these populations and the Saxons and Celts, particularly criticising the then current formulations of British Israelism, and would interject that Semites between the closely related English. So, particularly criticising the then current formulations of British Israelism that would interject Semites between the closely related English and Germans. Okay. The Scythian origin of the Scots has been referred to as mythical. Algernon Herbert, writing in 1848, characterised the linguistic derivation from Scots from Scolotti as strictly impossible, and Merrill, 2005, referred to it as false etymology.
Right. So rather than just saying it's strictly impossible, why was it impossible?
Well, there is a citation that so it's the Irish version of the Historia Britannium of Nennius, apparently.
First red flag, the Irish version. Okay, maybe this guy has some bias here. Maybe, is there a bias here, sir?
Addressing their view on the fate of exiled tribes, Frank Boyes said of their voluminous output, all the effort to write these volumes might well have been saved on the premise they were never lost, which we believe to be the correct one. Okay, so where are all the 12 tribes now then? Yeah. If you know this, Frank, tell us where they all are then.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Frank, tell us.
Parfit suggests that the creation of British Israelism was inspired by numerous ideological factors, which included a desire of its adherents, many of whom were from ordinary backgrounds, to prove that they had a glorious ancient past. I mean, this is the same shit that they use against white supremacists, isn't it?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Emerging pride in Western imperialism and colonialism, and a belief that the racial superiority of white Anglo-Saxon I think I've heard these arguments before. Don't they end in don't they end in white privilege?
Yeah.
Aikau categorised the movement as being fundamentally about providing a rationale for Anglo-Saxon superiority. To Kidd, it wasn't who I said earlier, Nick the Queen Jules, the Crown Jewels. It was Kidd, weren't it? Or was it Captain Blood? Oh fuck! Somebody stole the Crown Jewels, and he was Northern Irish, but that's about it. That's about all I can remember. To Kidd, its theology represents a quasi-heresy, which serves to blunt the universalist message apparent in the New Testament. Its role in fostering anti-Semitism in conservative Protestant Christianity has been noted by. We've noted it. We've noted it. We can see what you're doing.
By historians, yeah. Okay. You're taking away our specialness. Is that what it is?
Along with it,
certain people.
Yeah, how dare you be so anti-Semitic as to suggest
how
you are
dare
Semitic?
You be the special ones? Wait, no, you can't be the special ones. We're the special ones. Basically,
Along with its role in fostering a feeling of racial chauvinism, which is not always covert. Separately, the mythology of British Israelism has been characterised as fostering nationalistic bellicosity. Oh my God. Not nationalistic. By historians. To some adherents, British Israelism served as a justification for British imperialism and American settler colonialism, along with the displacement of indigenous peoples, which subsequently... Oh God. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Racist.
Racism. So it's also influences on other movements. Mormonism, dum.
God.
British Israelism was rapidly growing in England when the United States-based Latter-day Saint movement sent its first missionaries to England. British Israelist ideas clearly influenced Mormon thought by the 1850s, and by the 1870s, Mormon periodicals published in Britain were citing British Israelist proponents to promote the belief that most Mormons were of Anglo-Saxon and Israelite descent. Concepts that would subsequently be synthesized into general Mormon discourse.
Yeah, actually, that's probably. Yeah, you know what? I've met some Mormons. Yeah, they are pretty. Well, they're based. Well, they kind of get the stuff, but then they also they're very.
But they also follow a dude that's obviously made it up as he went along.
Well, yeah.
Apparently, Wilson and Blackett, interviewed by Rich Hall, talk about the Welsh being one of the lost tribes of Israel. They have a book about it. So Pentecostalism, which we mentioned earlier. Several individuals who were influential in the founding of Pentecostalism embraced the tenets of British Israelism. The British Israel-inspired self-identification of Anglo-Saxon peoples with the Jewish nation and promises made to them by their God would significantly contribute to the belief they would play a central role in the end times, a belief which is adhered by several prominent proto and early Pentecostals. Notable among them was John Alexander Dowie. Ever heard of him?
Nope.
Scottish-Australian minister known as an evangelist and faith healer. Began his career as a conventional minister in South Australia. After becoming an evangelist and faith healer, he immigrated with his family to the United States in 1888. He spoke about Anglo-Saxon Christians' plans to take control of Jerusalem in order to prepare for the Second Coming. This legacy was continued by Charles Fox Parham. It was an American preacher and evangelist. Together with William J. Seymour, Parham was one of the two central figures in the development and early spread of American Pentecostalism. He believed that lost tribes would join their Jewish brethren.
Wait, whoa! Have we glossed over the fact that it says "See Nordic Israelism"?
I haven't got that yet.
Red letters. Oh, you're not? Okay.
That's next line down.
Okay.
But he believed that lost tribes would join their Jewish brethren in order to re-establish the nation of Israel. That's a dead link anyway, because it's in red. His view of the lost tribes was more expansive than Dowie's view. See Nordic Israelism. God, I dread to think
God,
what that contains.
well,
Don't you?
yeah, exactly. Why has it been deleted? I wonder.
Lot of siege masks and
Yeah.
cookbooks, I should imagine. In addition to encompassing Anglo-Saxons, it also encompassed Scandinavians, Danes, High Germans, even Hindus and Japanese. See Japanese Jewish common ancestry theory. Fucking hell!
Gee.
What kind of rabbit hole have we gone down here? Who, according to Parham, had acquired the blood of Abraham through intermarriage, were hence eligible to take part in his end-time drama. British Israelist beliefs would soon be marginalised in the movement, but their influences could be seen in the teachings of several key leaders in the 20th century. In Britain, the espousal of British Israelism by George Jeffreys, who was a Welsh evangelist who founded the Ealing Pentecostal Church, led to a schism which precipitated his resignation in 1939 and led to the formation of Bible Pattern Church Fellowship. Dead link, probably,
Yeah.
that's probably a bit isn't it? Which continues to teach the doctrine. So who else have we got here? We've got Herbert W. Armstrong. I'm going to flick through this one because I'm getting a bit bored now. So he founded the Worldwide Church of God, formerly named the Radio Church of God, and the Worldwide Church of God is a Christian denomination. Oh, it's now the Grace Communication International. Dead legit then. Christian denomination with 30,000 members in about 550 churches spread across 70 countries. So that's Episcopal. They're a bit weird, aren't they? This is where you need a yank on, don't you?
Oh, jeez, right. Oh, okay. So
what?
The Judeo-Japanese common ancestry theory thing.
Oh, you having a look at it? Is
Oh,
it a bit
boy.
wild, is it?
Well, it kind of makes... Well, they're like trying to claim that the Korean... Because Japan, if you know anything about Japanese history, Japan was settled in two waves, right?
Yeah.
So there was... One wave came from the Korean, area, and one came from the Chinese area. Yeah, China. Yeah. I think Shanghai, area.
Yeah.
Most people can, relate, their genetics to. But there is the thing about samurais and their code, and that is very similar to some of the stuff that's taught in the Old Testament. They're trying to. It's basically trying to claim that the Koreans were this tribe. What's the tribe called? Where is it? Where is it? The Hattan tribe.
Good. This is what we were saying, the Euphrates stuff. That would be heading up towards.
They went
China,
that way. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's kind of. It doesn't make sense in that reading. If two tribes stayed and were occupied under the Romans, and they went outwards of the Euphrates, that's only one way, right?
Yeah.
That's into Asia. So, how did they then go to Europe and Scotland? Wouldn't it be the opposite? They went out into Asia and then did they come back? I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it also influenced Christian identity, and I'm not touching that with a fucking barge pole.
No,
Because there's the top quote being their adoption of the British Israelite belief that the Israelite derived Anglo-Saxons have been favoured by God over the impure modern Jews meant that a reluctantly anti-Semitic clansman could now maintain his anti-Semitism at the same time revere a Bible cleansed of its Jewish taint. Fucking hell.
Yeah. Basically, they're very militant.
So there's a list of notable adherents. The one interesting one is Nelson McCausland, who was born in 1951 and is a DUP politician right now. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's that.
Well, what do you think then?
Yeah.
I think again, like, there's a big time gap, right? But to me, it sounds like they went the other way, right, into Asia.
Well,
So then, how did they?
2 went this way and 10 went that way,
Well,
didn't they?
that's what they're saying. Like 10 went into Asia, right? Past the Euphrates. Where did they go? Northern Russia or whatever? Tartaria, whatever you want to call it. Like
Yeah.
Grand Tartary, maybe? I don't know. You know, they talk about reunifying them onto one thing. Well, what was Grand Tartaria? It's all on all the maps, right? It's in Northern Asia. And then, you know, again, as I say, the year 1812 when we all went to fight the people in Moscow, and the walls started melting and shit. You know, the fucking.
I mean, could that have been the Ark? Yeah. You're a space laser. Then could it have been the Ark?
Well,
someone's got the Ark, haven't they?
Well, yeah. But then, why did they lose? Then how have they now been? You know, they lost. Then it must have been right.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, you know, who are we then? Like, are we the bad guys? Is that it? Like, or are we just, you know, under occupation from, you know, when brother fights brother, right? I don't know. I don't really know, because the Mongolian Empire spread into Europe, right? Did they then come back, and it's just a bit later?
As Sergeant Oikenson says, everyone's the lost tribes of Israel these days.
Yeah, mate. Why not? You know.
Why not?
Why not?
Do you want to read about NASA have been at it again?
Oh, go on then.
They've named the four astronauts that are going to fly around the moon. I thought you couldn't. I thought you couldn't fly around the moon because of something to do with the dark side of the moon's not good.
What do you mean it's
not? Or is
good?
it the light side of the moon? You'll get burnt up or something. I don't know.
Oh, they changed that now, have they? Well, they did it in Apollo.
Well, they're going to fly around the moon.
13, whatever it was. Didn't Apollo 13 have problems on the dark side of the moon? I remember seeing that film about it. So why are they saying, you know?
Apollo 13, I've seen that film. Genuine found footage films were just everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be fair, I would like to do a show on the Blair Witch. Have you seen all the associated documentaries with the Blair Witch?
No.
It's a really brilliant, like, the Blair Witch itself is like, it's a good movie, like, it was the first of its kind and stuff like that. But yeah, if you watch
Cloverfield, that was a good movie, and then it turned into a pile of trash in the next one.
If you watch, just buy yourself the DVDs of Blair Witch and Blair Witch 2. Don't watch the Blair Witch 2 film because it's not good. Yeah. But it's got all the documentaries because they built a whole mythology, and by mythology I mean they built documentaries. There's a documentary about Rustin Parr. There's a documentary about the witch, and they're all really interesting. It's a really great body of work.
Yeah, I still haven't watched Record yet. Have you? Have you seen that yet?
What film?
Record.
No, I ain't seen any of those yet.
No, you need to see the first two. It's like, I know you've watched the shitty American version, right?
Oh no, I haven't watched the American.
You want to see some good found footage films? Have you not? Oh, well, you want to see the good found footage version? Watch those two. Don't watch the third one because that's just dog shit.
Apparently, what's it called? Peeping Tom is one of the first. That's like some weird slasher flick from the 60s. That's like one of the first found footage films.
Yeah.
4 members of the Artemis. So Artemis 2, they're going to fly around the moon. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me guess. One of them is a black woman. Am I correct?
No, they've got a black man. They've got a black man, right. A lesbian-looking woman. Hold on, let me just put this. I'll put this up on the.
Is one of them like transgender?
To be fair, 2 of them look pretty trad. I'm not saying anything about the woman. There you go. It's up on stream now. That might be a woman. It might be a geezer. I'm not sure.
These days it's hard
I
to
think
tell.
the two. I think the one on the right and the bottom middle. I think they might be clones.
Sure, one of them's Canadian, so
And I'm sure the guy at the back.
Being trad.
And I'm sure the guy at the back is the black guy from Dead Space.
Isaac, is that you?
No, not Isaac.
Where are you? Can you fix my pulse?
What's his name? The dude running it.
No, isn't he the commander guy? Like who's bossing you around? Like
yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. What's his
yeah,
name?
that's what I mean. Like
his death was shit in the remake.
Yeah.
But I just missed the guy from the first one, because the guy from the first one, if you like your slasher flicks, is the captain from Jason X. You ever seen Jason X? Jason Goes to Space.
Yes, yeah.
The commander, the captain of the spaceship is the same dude from Dead Space, the original Dead Space.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm gutted he's not still in Dead Space, because it's the dude from Jason X. That's cool.
That photo would make a good meme as well, you know, the guy at the front, like he's got a really long neck, you could just extend his neck a bit more.
Oh no, there's a Canadian on there, they're all fucked.
Yeah.
4 members of the crew. Commander of the mission will be Reed Wiseman, a naval aviator and test pilot. Serving as pilot is Victor Glover. That's got to be the black guy, isn't it? Is that Danny Glover's lad? So then the lone woman, it's just like they implied she's just going to get raped on there. Just the lone woman. Christina Hammock Cock.
Oh, what? No, come off it. That's not her name.
Yeah,
Hammock Cock.
Hammock Cock. No. Yeah.
No, it's not. Oh, dude.
The crew will be rounded out. Go on then, Fred.
What do you think they sleep in? Hammocks.
Hammock Cock.
Hammock Cock.
Yeah. The crew will be rounded out by a Canadian, Jeremy Hansen.
I'd be more worried about the 3 guys on there. That woman's name.
Hammock Cock.
Be like, all right, boys.
Jesus.
Nowhere to run now.
I saw a story. What was the story? I can't remember where I saw that story earlier. Didn't I put it in 37 in the Telegram? Where they're gonna have to send women out into space because they don't want them having sex.
What?
Yeah. Oh fuck! I didn't put it in it. I didn't put it in here, did I? Oh no, I thought I put it in here, but I hadn't. I saw a story earlier where they're not sending women. They want to send an all female. They've got like a 1.5 year mission or something, and they only want to send women because they don't want them having sex.
Well, women can still have sex with each other, you know.
Yeah, no, not if you're NASA. NASA don't know about that. Because they're all fucking autists, they obviously don't know about lesbians, do they?
How long, cold nights, you know, in darkness of space can, you know.
They just don't want you to see it on camera that when they run out of food and they eat the baby. They just don't want you to see that. Do
no. Oh man, bro, where are they going to? It's 1.5 years away. Fucking hell. What? Is that Mars? Are they trying to say that, you know, they want to go to Mars?
I'm gonna have to look for the fucking. Give me a sec. I'll have to look for that. Read the one about the
can you send me
about
the
Patterson.
send me the link.
Unexplained Mysteries. Read about the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot. They've got AI to sort it out. I'll see if I can find that story. It's in the back chat now. Lesbian domestics in space. That's the point. Do they know about the fucking domestic abuse statistics?
Oh man. Yeah, you know what? It'd be funny. You know, no, it wouldn't. It would be actually. Like they send them out on this 1.5 year mission and they get lost because women don't know directions. You know? I'm just like, help NASA, we're lost. Wait, you're meant to be going in a straight line. Yeah, but I saw a shiny thing. It's like, shit.
Where did I see that fucking story?
Okay, so the Bigfoot, right. Let's read this then. Patterson the Gimlin Bigfoot video has now been stabilized using AI. Oh god. Oh god, here we go. What is arguably the world's best known footage of the alleged Bigfoot has been stabilized thanks to artificial intelligence. Filmed in 1967 in North Carolina, the Patterson Gimlin film has long remained the most hotly debated and tantalizing piece of footage ever recorded in relation to the Bigfoot phenomenon. The video, which offers a clear view of a large bipedal ape-like creature walking along a creek bed, has long attracted the attention of Bigfoot enthusiasts and skeptics alike. Many argue that the creature is Bigfoot is simply a person wearing a costume. Others remain adamant that it represents genuine evidence that Bigfoot is the real deal. Fast forward to the present day, and now AI expert Rowan Shion has posted what is perhaps the most perfectly stabilized version of the visual footage that has been seen to date.
It don't matter if it's fucking stabilised or not. You still can't tell whether it's a bloke in a suit or not.
Wait, so are they saying they updated it to 4K? Is that it? Is that what it is? It's just like we need to see this in 4K to like count the fucking see the zip or something. Is that it?
I just listen. Like this story tells you all you need to know about NASA and women. Like if ever you ever thought all NASA people are virgins, this is where you find out that it's true. NASA secretly considered all female missions to Mars in a report examining sexual dynamics among astronauts, it's been claimed. A paper showed the space agency has considered enforcing a strict gender divide on potential long-haul missions, according to astronaut Helen Sharman. Britain's first person in space told a conference that the rumoured document filed some years ago was designed to address impure thoughts mixed spacefaring crews might suffer, Mail Online reported. The document's age could explain its apparent lack of consideration for same-sex attraction. Miss Sharman told the New Scientist live conference, I did hear some years ago there was a report. NASA has never released it, but it was done to see exactly the kind of crew makeup was necessary for the reason we've already alluded to. It found that the crew should be all same gender, all men or all women. Like, this is the bit that shows that they know nothing about women. All female crews would have been better than all male, the report is said to have included, due to women's superior cooperation skills. Yeah, because women get on with each other so fucking well, yes, don't they? Well.
Hey, do you want to post them that video of fucking, what was it, the Celebrity Island something?
Yeah.
Yeah, just post them that. Like, yeah, they get on so well, NASA.
This is not fucking hell. What is wrong with you, NASA? Oh dear.
Oh, fucking hell.
So Tyrannosaurus. Here we go, Fraser. You ready for some dinosaur news? Picture a Tyrannosaurus Rex, that ferocious yet one of the most beloved dinosaurs. Most people probably imagine a scaly giant with enormous fangs visible even when its mouth closed. This is the image of toothy predatory dinosaurs that popular culture has perpetrated for over 30 years. But our new study, published in Science, suggests that the giant teeth of Tyrannosaurus might have been sheathed in scaly lips.
Oh, fucking hell. What?
That's it. They reckon it might have had lips. So now they're putting big fucking kissy lips on everything, I suppose.
Give us a kiss. Yeah,
it's too long and I'm not reading it, but yeah, it's just big lips.
Big lips.
Combined with scaly lips, our findings suggest that predatory dinosaurs may have had softer looking faces and mouths than we're used to. Don't let us fool you, behind those lips and gums were formidable flesh-rending teeth. Oh dear. So, like, they probably look a bit more like Madonna, but with big teeth.
Yeah.
Right, I'm absolutely fucked. How about you?
Yeah. I think that will leave it there.
I'm done in.
Thank you, everyone.
Right,
catch you later. See you next week.
Oh shit! I just killed that prematurely, didn't I?